Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. We have a handful of representation here. We have Upper Cumberland, Leslie County, Perry County. Let's see.
Jackson County.
Jackson County. I can't see you.
That's a blessing for you.
Oh, you think? Okay. So you'll see some new faces here too, and everyone will have a chance to I'll tell you a little bit about themselves when we get to that part of the agenda, and we'll spend quite a little bit of time on that. We have the Brushy Fork team here and Amelia Kirby, who is working with us on some criminal justice, addressing criminal justice and jail overcrowding in Appalachian Kentucky, Eastern Kentucky, which will involve or engage all of you as well if you choose to. So I'm going to give them an opportunity to talk in just a little bit. First, I wanted, there we go. So we've got, again, let's see, did somebody else join? Let's see, Perry, Leslie, Upper Cumberland, Jackson County. Nobody from Breathitt. Leslie. Nobody else came on. Okay. Well, welcome everybody. This is our second quarterly update, and I'm so glad to have this opportunity. I think it was really helpful last time for me to be able to share some things with you, and happy to take the opportunity to do that again. We decided one of the easiest ways to be as transparent as we can and to share information would be to share our board packet from our last board meeting, which was held in February. So the board typically meets in the month following the end of the prior quarter. So we ended up meeting the first part of February simply because of the timing issues in January, but normally we would have met in January, and now we'll meet again in April. So the packet that you received was simply the packet from the board meeting with the agenda that goes over everything that we talked about. You know, Joel is the board chair, and he's with us today. He can, of course, chime in on any questions or things that you may have. But also wanted to give you an opportunity to, I know you haven't had much time to look at that, and we will get it to you a little bit earlier next time. We'll be able to share it a little bit earlier, but wondered if you had any thoughts or ideas about any of that. Sandy, did you?
Hi. I had a question.
Yes, questions.
I actually had two or three questions, okay?
Good.
The first is, what exactly is a consent agenda?
Okay. A consent agenda simply means that the materials went out ahead of time. Everyone on the board is assumed to have had the opportunity to review them, to look at them, to ask questions about them. They can also ask questions at that time, but rather than going through each individual item and doing a motion and a second and a motion and a second and a motion and a second, you're approving everything on the consent agenda at once.
Okay.
So we will do that, and I believe in this particular board, I think we typically do that with the affiliate meeting minutes, because you all, those are your minutes, you all have read them, you've reviewed them, you've approved them, but they include the grants that you have made in your communities and any other motion, you know, any other action items that you all have approved. So the board approval at this level is really it's something we have to do.
Sure.
But it's not anything that they can necessarily, you know, they can't take it back, they can't change what happened. If there were an issue to arise, we would have to figure out how to address it. But basically it's just saying we've looked at all of that, you all have done those things in your communities, and we've gone over them.
Okay. I've got two more questions. I don't know if I should jump in. Okay. So did I interpret it correctly in looking at the nominating committee that the FAKY has 6 board openings right now?
We have board openings and we are open for nominations, and would welcome nominations from any of the affiliates. That's one of the topics we're going to discuss today.
Okay. Okay. And then my third question is, what exactly is East Kentucky Hub?
Okay. Good question. First of all, there is no, where did you read East Kentucky Hub?
At the bottom of the Impact Appalachian Fund minutes.
Ah,
And
right.
it said we were becoming 3 different things, and I wanted to, yeah.
No, and we're not.
We're
There is
not.
no East Kentucky Hub.
Okay.
So that was part of a discussion that was at the Appalachian Impact Fund board meeting.
Okay.
And Joel was there. Who else is on that board, Joel? Anybody else in the room here? So Joel and I were both there. It became a huge conversation. I don't recall exactly what's in the minutes, but it created a lot of confusion. There was some real complicated discussion around it, and then the use of the word hub in general created some different images from different people. So we decided that wasn't a good title to use, but our strategic plan for the foundation does include a new diagram that talks about how we envision the structure that we have. And actually, I can go ahead and email, Kathy, can you email, do you have the most recent version of the Venn diagram that, ask Tanya. It's on my.
Sandy, that kind of came out of, we've been talking about doing an organizational chart and a succession plan and that kind of stuff for a while now. And they were kind of working on a way to organize and show that to the board. And when they showed it to us, it was more confusing than it was helpful. So that kind of just got swept away. So
by succession plan, you mean a change of the leadership for the continuity of the foundation, or?
Well, eventually Jerry's going to retire. So we've got to have a plan for when that happens. So
Gotcha.
So they're planning for that. That's in the works. That's something that is part of the strategic plan that's going on right now.
Okay. Super. Okay. Thanks, Joel.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you know who all's on there? Okay. We have an updated diagram that is not for time. We have not shared it out in the bigger world, and actually the board has not approved it yet. And you all haven't seen it yet, but since you asked the really good question, Sandy, I'm happy to share it with you to get some feedback. The Impact Fund board looked at a different one and got really confused, as Joel said, and it created a lot of questions that made us realize this is not ready for prime time. This is not where we want to go. So, so we have this new diagram that Kathy's about to share with all of you that you can take a look at and see what you think. But your question, Sandy, I think I heard you correctly, is it going to change? What did you just ask, Joel, other than my retirement, which isn't?
I mean, she said, yeah. Joel just was talking about under what context the conversation came up. Yeah.
Okay. What we're trying to do, what we're trying to come up with is a way to explain to the community, but also to funders and to foundations. And I know all of you that are on this Zoom call, we've had this conversation before about larger foundations and how we might appeal to a larger foundation when we're working as a region, so that we can put more money in that then we can funnel out to the different communities and programs. So we're trying to explain to the bigger world how our structure really works. And so when we said hub, which is not what the word we ended up using, we were talking about the work with the affiliate boards, that we have leadership teams, leadership boards doing lots of work in each of these communities that are perfectly capable of understanding, planning, and knowing how to distribute funds in their community or in their, with their own nonprofits or in their own initiatives and programs. And that a large foundation that doesn't typically make grants to smaller entities or individual communities can put this money here, and we can get it out into the smaller communities or into individual projects. And that's worked so far with the foundations we know. Many of you have been able to make food system grants through the Educational Foundation of America's Food Systems program. AIF, the Appalachian Impact Fund, has made grants, I know, through Leslie County. Right, Joel? You all had a project with the Impact Fund. And
20,000 to the Bluegrass, the School of Bluegrass Music.
School. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
And then
by the way, I applaud the effort of you guys going to try to fix the whole KCTC system. You go, go for it. Might as well plan big.
Okay. And then we've gotten some resources through the Margaret Casey Foundation that went out to some advocacy organizations. So we're trying to attract more money into the affiliate community foundations, basically. So I don't know, did Kathy send that yet? Yeah. So if you look at that diagram, you'll see where it says Community Development Core.
How do we access the document? Did she email it?
Just emailed it to you.
Okay.
So, got little circles on it.
Yeah, got it.
So you'll see that side, that Community Development Core, those are the affiliates. And that's what we're trying to demonstrate, is that if we can build these assets and funnel these assets in, that we have a way to get them out to communities in ways where just communities on their own typically aren't going to be able to access the larger foundation grants for an individual project or for a part of a strategic plan that they may have implemented. But we can do that, get money closer to the ground with our local affiliate boards. And then the top part, the community foundation, is more traditional community foundation work. That is permanent funds, meaning donor advised funds, individuals who aren't willing to work through a specific community but want to manage their own fund personally. And then other just initiatives that come to us that need a back office or fiscal sponsor, a child care facility, or the network. Jane?
Yes. So as I look at this, I see that the affiliates of the Appalachian Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky would not in any way be considered a community foundation.
No, not yet at all. You are all community foundations.
That's why this diagram is so off-putting, because they're not included. Because you have them out here, I mean, I'm a visual learner, so this tells me that all these.
Help me, Jane. What can, this is a draft. This is not, this is not
all these affiliate funds, you know, that green has to include them if you want them to, if you want your affiliates to be considered part of or see themselves as a community foundation, which is what we were, then they need to be included in the green.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
I do.
Maybe it's Appalachian Community Foundation Development Corps. Maybe those little satellites skew around a little bit so they're also in the green. But this visual is perhaps not as, maybe it doesn't really convey what is.
Yeah.
Jerry, this is Melissa. I wonder if just inserting the word foundation there instead of maybe development,
See,
The
that's what
Community Foundations, plural, core. That way it's just,
Foundation Core.
yeah, just so that, just as she says,
Yeah.
make sure it says affiliate funds.
And then it says affiliate community foundations.
yes.
Yes,
You know,
yes,
just
exactly.
So,
And
so
so
we
that
use
it,
that word repeatedly, even under each one. It can say the Breathitt County Community Foundation, the Clinton
Yeah.
Community
yeah,
Foundation.
that way there's no question.
There's no question. Sure. I hear you. I think that's a really good point. Thank you, Jane. Thanks, Melissa. So we'll continue to work on this document. And again, if you have any other thoughts or suggestions, share them, please. The next full board meeting is on April, help me, Joel, April 8th? April 9th.
Whatever that
It's on
Thursday is.
April 9th. So we have between now and April 9th to continue to work on this document. So I would welcome your input. And since this group is here now, I'll probably just go ahead and send out any subsequent drafts to you as well. Okay?
Now, is this the type of thing you want us to take to our affiliate boards and to have responses from them too?
You will, we will bring it to the affiliate boards after the April board meeting.
Okay, so you're going to approve it and then tell us about it, but you don't want our input to begin with? I mean,
No, I want your input now. That's what this meeting is for, is to keep you all in a continuous loop.
right,
Um,
right.
Then you're going to hear from Donna in a minute. Donna is going to talk to you, and Donna and Jacqueline are going to talk to you about doing your own strategic plan as your local community foundation. They're going to work with each board to do that work. So this document is not a public document. This is about how we see ourselves and how we explain the work that we do, not to individual donors. And to Jane's point, you know, you want to, as community foundations, local community foundations, you want your local donors to know that you are a local community foundation doing local work. When we are talking to, again, mostly bigger national investors or foundations or philanthropies or, you know, Google, and they say we don't make small grants to communities, we only make big grants to big initiatives, then we want to share with them a visual of how they can get to our smaller community foundations through this program of leadership and local support that builds into our bigger region.
Yes. And that makes sense to me. My question is, we have an Upper Cumberland affiliate meeting on the 18th of March, and you can see there's 2 of us who've made it, and maybe one of these other numbers is Rodney because he intended to join us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we would expand the amount of input by talking to all of them to share with you. And that's all I'm.
And I would welcome that input, Sandy.
Okay.
And
Okay. That's all I'm. Okay.
that meeting. No, I'm not asking you to keep it from anybody other than our inner circle. You know, your board members are all welcome to be here. That's why I want to, that's what this is about. You'll see another piece in the board packet. There was a piece that was ready in time for this last board meeting around our 5-year goal. You can share, that one's ready to be shared too, that one, so yes, please share it.
Okay, because I mean, obviously what we have to do is take from this. We would love it if we had everybody on board, but we have to take what we're learning here and push it back out to there, and hopefully we'll grab a few more.
Exactly. So I do want you to do that. Again, this is an internal document. This is not a document that's going out to the bigger world.
Draft.
So good.
Work in progress. Got it.
Right. But I really appreciate, hi Dave, I really appreciate that's the kind of thing we need, or that other set of eyes that says,
okay,
tell us what this says to you. That's how the one that said East Kentucky Hub got crashed. Because
gotcha.
it didn't work for the group of people we put it out there. So you're like a test group, a focus group.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So other questions or comments about anything from the last board meeting packet that we sent out? Joel, do you want to add anything from the full board, the board meeting?
Not really.
Okay. Not really. Okay.
Jerry, it's Melissa again. I have a question. Just I'm still looking at the visual, and this is simply trying to understand. All of these circles are the same size,
Mhm.
and I'm curious as to whether or not that's accurate as far as the dollar amount or kinds of contribution. And this might be, again, somebody mentioned about being a visual person. It looks to me when I look at this graphic that all three of these circles or groups have the exact same amount of vested interest. And I'm just curious if that's accurate. Does that make sense? And I might be being picky, but you know, I could look at this and say, oh wow, the Appalachian Impact Fund is as big as the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky. And I'm not sure. And so I'm just wondering if that needs to, again, be a little bit more visually representative of these three circles.
Yeah, I think,
And that might be picky, I don't know.
no, I think it is. I think one of the points is that all of these things are equally important. If you'll note the text boxes, we're talking about community building and capacity building and asset building, but you'll also see that they all run into each other. You know, that we're not saying that building the capacity of local community foundations is more or less important than building assets for investment. So, or that having a traditional community foundation hub, or a hub is not the right word. You know, we're trying to meet the needs of everybody that's willing to invest in this region. So we have donors in Perry County who are not willing to invest through the Perry County Community Foundation.
I understand.
They want to invest money in Perry County, but they don't want the local Perry County Community Foundation board in the business.
I got you.
So we don't want to turn those donors away. That's our first option, but we don't want it to be our only option. So we have a fund called Craft Scholars, so that couple can run their scholarship, but we'll manage their scholarship fund for them, for students in the region, but it's not up to the Perry County Board. We have the same, but now eventually we want that donor to invest in the Perry County Community Foundation Board. So we want to broker that relationship. We have the same going on in Upper Cumberland. Jackson County probably. You know, a lot of our counties, we have donors that just aren't willing yet to work with their individual board, with their local board, but they want that community foundation service and they want to invest in those communities. So there's no big regional fund. There are funds that are directed at communities and at projects or for individuals. Does that make sense to folks? Are you following that? And then our hope is through that traditional community foundation, broader work, by offering that service. And Jane, I'm trying to be sensitive to your comment here too, because I think that's really important. That having that one step away option, that we can hang on to those folks long enough so that we build that trust and that relationship, and eventually they're working only through that local board and not outside of that local board. And then we also know, as you're familiar with, Melissa, from Perry County, we also know that it gives us people that when the Perry County Board wants to do something or has an initiative or a project, we can be an intermediary between a donor who is not, doesn't wants their own personal total control,
Right.
and a bigger board who wants to make a bigger investment in an initiative and say, how about giving some money to this board to do? So it's complex, but it all comes together, and I think that each has equal play. Good input, guys. Thank you so much. We'll keep working on it, and I'll keep looking for your input, and I'll be excited to be at your board meeting on the 18th at Corbin.
We're looking forward to it. I saw where you accepted our meeting request.
I did. So I want to give you one more piece of information. Erica's leaving us. But she has a really good opportunity with a big company. Can I share with America? With Sykes. Sandy, you'll be familiar with Sykes. And
Yeah, they just got a big old grant from the governor, didn't they?
yeah, so Erica has a big opportunity to work with them in their administrative HR area. And it's right in her field, and she's very excited, and we're excited for her. I am going to be the staff person at Upper Cumberland right now.
Okay.
So I will be at all of your meetings, and we'll talk more about that at the meeting.
Okay.
I have some thoughts about your structure of board meetings and executive team, and so I'd like to talk more about that and how
Okay.
be more participatory, and then get more input from you all about how we approach this regional foundation and the staffing that needs to be before we just hire someone else. I want to really think about what that looks like for that whole
Okay.
since you're a regional fund. Kathy will be handling all the other funds except Perry County, and Perry County has an opportunity to, I'm going to be working with Perry County along with Upper Cumberland also during this interim. They also may be looking at a permanent staff person. So, so those two I want to work with while we're continuing to get, for continuity's sake, and while we continue to build this out and figure out what it all needs to look like and how it can best serve local communities. So I'll see you all on the 18th. I was just with Perry County last Monday, and everybody else is in good hands with Kathy. So.
Yes.
That's an update on any questions about any of that. More
Jerry, I think that's, I very much appreciate that. Very
Right.
much.
Great. Well, and I appreciate all of you because you've been open and honest and really given us some good ideas, good thoughts, good ways to think about things a little differently. So it's good. We're getting this right. We will get this right.
That's our goal.
Jane?
To get it right, and whatever right is, we have to figure out.
Yeah, well, we're kind of reinventing it, but we're getting it.
But isn't that the whole deal? Years ago, when I was president of the Bar Association, I said, let's reimagine something, and that's
There
before.
you go.
That was 13 years ago, and I think sometimes we do have to reimagine, kind of locked in one thing, and
Yep.
maybe let our minds not be as agile as they can be. And I think you're showing incredible agility. I found the board packet to be highly informative. It lets me get a better idea of the size and scope of what the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky has and does. I think that's helpful to everyone.
Good.
When you're trying to sell this concept to people who have the ability to direct their means in a certain way, it helps to be fully informed.
Great. Thank
for
you.
giving us this information.
And on that note, don't forget, to Sandy's earlier point, we are accepting board nominations. We had 2 people to add from last year that were already in the queue. We didn't open it in January specifically because we were working out the strategic plan, but we want to add people starting with the April board meeting. Not during the April board meeting, but our plan is to announce and ask about a board nomination process at the April board meeting. So we look to our affiliate boards as that feeder. You know, we want affiliate board members to make nominations and to self-nominate, to be participatory. So y'all start talking about that and keep it in mind. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit before we get to Amelia and Donna and Jacqueline is Endow Kentucky. I mentioned this to you all last time that Senator Smith had filed a bill to increase the amount of tax credits to $5 million. We asked and what he agreed to include a statement as part of the law that said 20% of those of whatever credits were awarded would be set aside for rural communities in the state, so that we would have that tool in our pocket whenever we talk to a donor. We didn't have to jump on it on July 1 of every year. That if we're talking to a donor in September or October, we would be able to say we have credits available for our Appalachian region whenever we were talking to a donor, which is a really nice gift to be able to have. So far, that bill hasn't gone anywhere. A&R, Senate Appropriations and Revenue, would not hear it because it didn't originate in the House. Honestly, I'll tell you, I thought that from the beginning, but the lobbyists told us it wasn't important, but it is. So we had to file a sister bill in the House, which has been filed. As far as I know, it has not been brought up yet. So we'll see what happens. I have not had an opportunity to talk to Senator Smith one-on-one to find out where he sees things, but I will hope to find that out in the next week or so. Yeah, Sandy?
Who filed your companion bill in the House?
You were going to ask me that. Somebody hand me my brown folder sitting right there on my desk. I'll tell you.
And you were successful in getting Senator Smith to include the 20% caveat.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Oh, shoot. No, this is the restaurant tax. Kathy, would you go look on my email from Rebecca? Just put in, search Rebecca. So it's, well, she'll find out. It was a Republican on A&R. I just can't recall it.
Was it a mountain person or a rural person or?
No. But once I find out, I will again, if we know that bill's going to move, I will be in touch with all of you to start calling people and explaining it and get the Mountain Caucus on board. So, because I think it will be really helpful and useful when we are talking to higher dollar donors, especially who, you know, the tax breaks are important. To me, I like to do it just to get the state tax break, but Rebecca Hart, so, right. Does she say who filed the sister bill? Yes, Mark Hart. Mark Hart. It's House Bill 471. It's the exact language as the Senate bill.
Okay.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank you.
Okay, so more to follow on that as well. I'm getting a little nervous that it's not going anywhere. The session there's not much more time left in the session, but we'll see what happens. So the next two things I want to spend the rest of our time on this today are with Amelia and Donna and Jacqueline. I'm going to let Amelia talk a little bit first. Amelia Kirby is, Amelia, are you from Whitesburg, or did I just know you from Whitesburg?
You know me from Whitesburg. I'm actually from Wise County, Virginia. That's where I was born.
Okay, almost Whitesburg.
Almost.
Amelia is very well credentialed to serve in the capacity as a consultant for us at the foundation. Pretty much full-time this year, working on an initiative that we entered into with the Chan Zuckerberg initiative. That is Priscilla Chan and Mark Zuckerberg. They approached us, and I may have talked to you all a little bit about this before. They approached us about their interest in criminal justice reform, and in particular, a series of articles that was published in the Lexington Herald Leader called Caged. Some of you may have read it. It talked about the overcrowding in our jails, and in particular highlighted some of our rural Eastern Kentucky jails. And they approached us about reform in our criminal justice system. And our response to that was, it's not really what we do. What we do is build communities. What we do is try to create communities where people can live and work and find meaning, because most of the people in our jails, quite frankly, are there because of opioids, or because of peddling their grandmother's opioids, or because of, they're not criminals. They're people who, for whatever reason, are self-medicating, or they're trying to make a living, or they're trying to feed their children. But our issues are deeper than a policy. Our issues are about communities where people can live and thrive and have jobs and work and be a part of the bigger community. So no, we don't really do criminal justice reform, but we build communities where people live and don't end up in jail, or once they pay their dues, they can reintegrate into a community that is caring and where they can work and live. So after a lot of back and forth, they agreed that that was a good approach. So Amelia is working with us to do some environmental scan, some work with the affiliates, with other stakeholders that you all might recommend that she talk to about what are these issues in our communities? Why do we have a jail problem? Why is this coming up? What, as a community foundation, might we do? And the answer might be, this isn't what we do. This isn't where we're going. Or it might be, that you have some ideas. I know Amelia and I always say, we sat in a meeting in here with the Commonwealth Attorney in Perry County, and he said, I could work 2 days a week if it wasn't for opioids. That's a big problem. We're not going to solve the opioid issue as local community foundations, but we might create more opportunities for jobs. We might create more opportunities for education. We might have more opportunities for good childcare. So there may be things that we do that will contribute to decreasing the populations in our jails. So Amelia, you want to talk a little bit about that? And then I think Melissa has some thoughts to share.
Yeah, first I want to say thank y'all for having me as part of your meeting today. I appreciate the opportunity to be here with you. As Jerry said, she knows me from Whitesburg, where I worked for many years at Apple Shop, doing community-based media work specifically around criminal justice issues for several years, did documentary film and radio work. And so I've really thought a lot about what the criminal justice system means in Appalachia. As I said, I'm from Wise County, Virginia, so I've lived in the area almost all my life. I left to go to college and then came back and lived in Whitesburg from 2000 till fairly recently. I'm now in Lexington, 1 foot in Lexington, 1 foot in Harlan County. So kind of the classic Kentucky story of in and out. But I've worked as an entrepreneur in Eastern Kentucky. I've been a small business owner. I've done work with advocacy for issues around Black lung and arts development. So I've had a lot of different kind of perspectives on what kinds of work the region is capable of, what places of work the region needs, we need to engage with and grapple with more deeply. So coming to this work with the Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky and with the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative, one of the things that I really want to focus on is kind of to ground our work in hearing from all y'all, what do we need to do? What are the kind of places that we could really dig into to grapple with the things that lead people to end up in the criminal justice system? And that is, as Jerry said, and I'm not going to say it any better than she did, there's this vast range of challenges that people have in their lives, whether it's opioid addiction, whether it's access to good mental health care, whether it's access to child care, all of the sort of different pieces that make up a whole and healthy community are all pieces that then, if they don't exist or don't go well, help people route into that system, that criminal justice system. So really wanting to engage around what do we do to make strong, healthy communities that help people not go to jail, basically, when you put it just at its nuts and bolts.
So the other part that I want to make clear is we're going through this process not for the sake of studying something and then here you go, we know. There's money at the end of this tunnel to do things that might improve or might address whatever it is we come up with the affiliates, not us, for you all to use in your communities. So, and hopefully more. We're hoping to build a good relationship to help people like Chanzak Ruger from San Francisco understand that the way we approach things and the way we do work in Eastern Kentucky is not like they might do something in San Francisco. And with enough resources, we might really be able to do some work in our communities that makes, helps people participate more in community. So I don't know what that is. We won't know until we talk and think about it and you all look at what you want to do. But the goal is to have the resources to do what we want to do. And for you all to have the resources to put into your communities with that. Hang on. Melissa, you had you wanted to say something.
So sometimes I think the stars align and things really kind of fold together. When I know a meeting or so ago, Jerry, you had mentioned this opportunity and how this was, you guys had taken a different approach with it. And I had mentioned to you then that, Dr. Linden and Scott Alexander, this is just for Perry County alone, that they were really interested in some educational programs for folks that were incarcerated over and above just a GED program. So, county judge is real interested in that. And so we already knew that connection. Well, then another connection came about in that KCTCS had pursued and I had mentioned this to you, Jerry, a consortium grant between Big Sandy, Southeast, and Hazard through the James Graham Brown Foundation. And they were looking at a fairly sizable dollar amount. Well, they got some feedback and they really wanted a little bit more hands-on county region focus. And they were very interested in opioid addiction. So they were talking about needing to kind of rewrite that. Well, then yesterday morning, I received a notification from a Department of Labor grant that is focused on training folks that are incarcerated. And that's a $4 million project, and it can't be done in county. It has to be done on a regional basis. The James Graham Brown has to be regional. It has to include the Big Sandy, Southeast, and Hazard region. And now you have this money. I think that there is a perfect opportunity to leverage all of these resources and possibly land that $4 million Department of Labor grant based on what could be at play here. And I think that we could turn $800,000 into probably $5,800,000 that could be spent regionally in this area. So I just wanted to, now I know that that's all about education. Of course, I'm at the college, but I'm just throwing that out there that there are some interesting alignment that is just all of a sudden happening at one time.
So
I would love to see us take advantage of that.
yeah, thank you, Melissa. That's exactly the kind of example I think Amelia's going to be collecting up all these comments and ideas and thoughts. And hopefully a lot of them will align. So that's, yes, you're exactly right. That's what we want to do is leverage as much as we can. And, even your comment, like, I know it's about education. Well, just like everything else, education includes a lot of things. So, that's what Amelia is going to be doing, collecting and gathering all of these ideas and comments and coalescing it into where we are as a region and what our communities think about all of this and opportunities. Sandy,
Amelia, come and see me.
All right, will do.
Sandy.
Sure. Hang on just a second, Jay. Okay, so 2 points. First of all, are you familiar? Have you met Bobby Clark? He's in Lexington, but he specializes in entrepreneurism for inmates to try to help them in being able to, so many employers won't employ them with a record of being able to have the foundations for being able to start their own work. And so I can introduce him to you, Amelia, if you like.
That would be
The
fantastic.
second thing is, the first, as soon as I heard about the criminal justice in Appalachia, how are we going to be able to separate this conversation of overcrowding in what I assume are our county jails from the discussion of a federal penitentiary in Letcher County?
Yep.
Because that is a hot topic, and there's not uniform agreement as to the benefit of that as a project. And I don't want to have it look like, because we're doing this study, that somehow or another we're now siding with one side of that argument or the other.
Perfect, Sandy. That's exactly why Amelia is gathering and talking about with our communities at this community level. And that's like even one of the examples I used when we were first approached by Chan Zuckerberg is, we are not divisive. We are not here to lay down in front of a bulldozer or take a stand on a particular policy or issue. At this point, there may be times when you do that, but that's not what this is about. This is about building our communities so that people don't land in the penitentiary or in the county jail. This initiative is about community-based. I liken it to the social indicators of health. I am not going to change what goes on in the hospital, but I might build more walking trails so that people can be healthier. I might give people more access to food. What we're doing is community building. We're not protesting or build, it's a nuance, but I think it's really, really important because of just what you said.
Well, can we frame it as prevention? Like
Absolutely.
criminal justice prevention, so that we can really separate this conversation from, with all due respect, Amelia, your resume immediately makes one feel like there's a bias. And I say that I don't know that you've got a bias. You may have no bias, but anyhow, just to say that, we want to be neutral.
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
and I appreciate
we want to be as even-handed.
Yeah.
I don't think any of us is neutral, but we do want to be even-handed. And again, this is us. This is internal. Amelia is not your spokesperson.
Okay.
Amelia is gathering information. Upper Cumberland, your board are your spokespeople, and Melissa is her spokesperson, and Joel is our local people are who are speaking on our behalf and for us.
Mm-hmm.
We're tools. You all are speaking in your communities.
Okay.
I think
There's no newsletter article that says the Community Foundation takes on criminal justice reform. There's no headline because it's not. That's not what this is about. But your point is right on, Sandy. Jane.
Yes, reducing recidivism is a big deal too. While you have people in there, part of what you're trying to do is provide enough education or job training, and maybe it's making a link between our vocational education and our jail programs.
Yep.
Maybe we should, we have a brand new county jail here in Laurel County that has room for lots of things to go on, and our jailer has been open even in the overcrowded jail that they've just left, to have our adult education GED program in there. And we're hoping that they have, and I think they do have more dedicated classroom space there. We used one of our grants in our first round of providing those to the adult education program, GED program here, for the retests. Since the initial test is at no charge,
Right.
people pass it all the first time. So we said, yes, use it for the retest.
Yeah.
And in regard to collaborating among the community foundations, Foundation for Appalachian Kentucky is going to be the hub there. I love Ms. Vermillion's comments about trying to work together among the affiliates to leverage additional money.
Yes.
And I think in the counties we have forward-thinking jailers in Bell, Knox, and Laurel. I know them personally. I guess I've represented CAECO insured counties for years, so I do know a lot of these folks. I think that we could put together a group of those people who would probably be open to collaborating in some manner to fund programs. When I was the juvenile prosecutor, what I saw were teachers that were poorly prepared to keep troublemaking students in school.
Yep. Those are exactly
Every child back. We have the McDaniel Learning Center here in Laurel, Kentucky now to address the needs of children who aren't girl learners. I think there is a preference for girl learners. At being the mother of 2 boys, I never had a girl learner, I can tell you. And that's where I saw many public school teachers taking out their ire on a child that just wasn't engaged.
right.
Suddenly they're suspended for misbehavior. That is a critical point in stopping this issue with the criminal justice system.
And those are the issues that we want to talk about, think about, and address. You know, Amelia and I, it was interesting. We already sat down just privately with the Association of Jailers and CAECO and those folks who were saying, why is it that the mountain jailers don't want to reduce things from a felony to a misdemeanor? And we were saying it's not that. It's the problem is it's a money problem. If everything's a misdemeanor, the keeping those folks in jail falls right to the counties. If it's a felony, the state. It's a budget issue. We're not bad people. We just don't have enough resources to do what we need to do. Your programs, Jane, that's exactly what came up. I believe, Amelia, don't let me misspeak, was about the programming. We don't have the resources to provide those programs that are desperately needed in our jail. So it's not about we're hard on crime or we don't want people out on the street. It's we don't have the resources we need to do what needs to happen. And so we want to identify exactly what you're talking about and what Melissa is saying so that we're working in our communities in ways that don't ever get to the jail. Well,
I think the new head of the Somerset Community College campus here in London is a very forward-thinking, like native, who I think would be open to discussion about many of these things. And
that's great.
I mean, I would be delighted. We'll do whatever we can here in Laurel County. If we can leverage that much money, by golly, I sure can help discover ways to put it to good use.
So before we run out of time on this, Amelia will be in touch, or I will be in touch, or Kathy will, about getting on your agenda for one of your regular meetings to have a focus group, to do some thinking around gathering all of this information and these comments and these sentiments. So be prepared for that. And I want to switch over to Donna and Jacqueline really quick before I want to be respectful of everybody's time. Donna and Jacqueline are with the Brushy Fork Institute, and we have them working with us to provide technical assistance and some tools to all of you as affiliate boards to do some thinking and planning. And I'm going to let them introduce themselves and give you just a quick overview of what's on their plate.
Okay. So I'm Donna Daniels with the Brushy Fork Leadership Institute, and I'm the director. And I think I've met several of you in some place or another. And we also have with us Jacqueline Coram, who is our upcoming program coordinator. So Jacqueline will be working with us on this as well. And there are 2 major pieces of work that Brushy Fork's engaged in. And the first is to develop a series of webinars to provide some kind of 1-hour online training that is accessible and easy for people to attend about how to serve on a board, some information about community foundations and various topics. And I'll have Jacqueline just in a couple minutes go over quickly what some of the topics were that arose from a survey that we did. And I guess I'm hoping that everybody that's on this call had an opportunity to respond to our survey. We ended up having about 28 people respond to that. But so those webinars are one piece of this work. And then the second piece of this work are planning sessions that actually connect somewhat to the whole, every piece of conversation that we've had on this call so far. Everything from that bigger picture image of what the foundation looks like and the relationships and what the community affiliate community foundations are doing and how it fits into the big picture, all the way down to what is it that we need to focus on in our communities as things that will help define our funding strategy. And so what those are these planning sessions for a community investment strategy. And it's really about the money for what piece that I hear Jerry mention sometimes is you know, what is the community foundation here for? What are we raising money for? And so we can think of this as a strategic planning session, but it's actually, we're not going to end up producing a 30-page strategic plan for each of the community funds, because I don't think that is what you all need. Okay, good. I'm seeing thumbs up. What we're really going to end up with is really a definition of the vision and strategy that your foundation can use to answer that question, money for what? And so it's really, the money for what is based on the impact that you want to have on people. So it's the population result that you're trying to get in your community and the impact on the community overall. And so what we're going to end up with is a tool that we hope will help you with your fundraising and your donor development, which is also going to be one of the training sessions for a webinar, or several of the training sessions. A way to define how you develop your request for proposals and how you ask your grantees to evaluate what they've done with the money that you've given them. So it'll help inform that. And a way to assist with your decisions when you're trying to make decision making about which projects you fund, because I imagine, like everybody who has any kind of resource to provide, you often have more requests than you have resources to give out. So how do you make decisions around that, about what the best fit is? And so it's really about helping you decide or figure out how to have a grant making strategy that is both strategic and responsive to your communities, is what we want to have come out of those planning sessions. And so, Jacqueline, do you want to just very quickly go through that list of ideas, or they're really general topic areas that we have that came out of the survey for the webinars that we'll be doing?
Right. So like Donna was just saying, the first webinar will probably kick off with that grant making strategy webinar. And then we might move on to a Community Foundation 101, that money for what webinar. And then group norms for effective communication was one of the topics that came up as a topic that a lot of people wanted to have as a webinar. And then also a topic on board culture, building a diverse board, managing those board transitions and tools to be able to use. And then running effective meetings and making decisions as a group are both topics that also came up. Fundraising and donor development, grantee reporting and evaluation, networking and organizing events. And some of these webinars might be broken down into several webinars, or like a mini series of webinars on those topics, because we probably won't be able to cover the whole topic in an hour. Do you all have any thoughts on that right off the bat? I know that we're running really short on time.
Yeah.
My question, will you all record every webinar, even if it includes interaction, so somebody can go? Okay.
We will.
Okay.
We will. And so
And
oh, go ahead.
And are you planning to do the planning for the investment strategy by webinar or face-to-face?
That will be face-to-face. I think that
That'll
really
be face-to-face. Okay.
Face-to-face. And it's going to be really critical to get every board. What we will do is meet with each of the affiliate community foundations. And it's going to be really important to get every board member there if we can. And in the design, the way that I think what will work well with this design is also to have a few stakeholders from the community there as well, to help talk about what are the important issues in the community, at least for a portion of that meeting. We may think about having that. And so what I imagine those planning meetings look like are probably probably about a 3-hour meeting to get through everything we need to get through. And then some follow-up work. Brushy Fork will actually pull everything together and create a document for you that's not, again, not a 30-page strategic plan. It's not what we're talking about. We're talking about a document that's laid out, that's a quick, almost one-pager that you can hand out to people that say, for the next 3 years, our community fund has these strategies. This is our overall result that we're trying to get to and how we are approaching that.
Okay.
And there'll be some pre-work involved that's done electronically.
There will be some pre-work involved that it's basically I know everybody loves getting surveys. We get lots of surveys these days, but this will be a survey that will lay the groundwork for the document that we're going to produce to help us craft language that works for each board will get its own survey, so that, you know, as we're going into this process, the process will be tailored to where that board is actually. So
the goal is to keep you from having a 2-day board retreat.
exactly.
Limit that on-site time and use our technology as much as possible. So.
Yeah, and we will schedule these. We'll figure out who the best contact person is for each of the affiliate boards to schedule them. You know, we're willing to come on weekends to do this because I know most of the board members are volunteers. Weekends, evenings, whatever it takes to get it done. To be able to get the document put together. So.
Any questions for Donna or Jacqueline, or comments, thoughts to add to that? There's a lot of work to do, a lot of work to be done, and our goal from here is to get as much support and information as we possibly can out to the community foundations on the ground in the communities. So,
and our first webinar, we will be scheduling those webinars on the survey. The response was that the noon hour works best for most people. Of course, they'll be recorded if people can't be there at noon, but we're going to try to do them the last Tuesday of every month at noon, the last Tuesday.
March
31st, the first one. And then that first webinar, we're going to do have an overview of that kind of strategic versus responsive fundraising spectrum, and just get an understanding of that, and moving it so that we move into those planning sessions.
Great. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.
Jerry, with respect to this particular session that we're having, I see that it's being recorded. Are we going to be able to send that out to our other foundation board members?
Yeah,
we're recording it. This one?
This one, yeah, it'll be available on our YouTube channel.
Okay. And so I didn't know if it's private or not, and how do all of our board members have access to it, or how does it work?
Kathy question, Kathy?
We send out the link. I think they might have to register to view it.
Everybody will have access to it. If there's a problem, let us know, but everybody should have access.
Okay, very good.
They'll send a link out
Very good.
once it's on YouTube, right?
Excellent.
Okay, so expect to hear from Amelia, expect to hear from Donna or Jacqueline. I'll be at Perry and Upper Cumberland. Kathy, of course, will be with the rest of you. And we are always available for a chat or an email or, yep. Thank you all so much. Think about who you want on the board, this other board. Who needs another board to be on, right?
Well, thank you for taking the time to do this.
Well, thank you all for taking the time.
I've enjoyed reviewing the board packet. I think that provides a lot of information that's good for all of us to know.
Great. We'll get it out a little earlier.
Okay.
But,
All right.
all right. Bye, guys.
Bye, y'all.
Great weekend. Stay safe. Stay healthy.
Wash your hands.
Wash your hands. Keep your hands off. No high fives. Only elbows.